Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and Karine Jean-Pierre, maybe one of my least favorite press secretaries. And here's the deal. I'm just going to be honest and real right now. I want to let everybody know, to me, none of this is left and right. But really, I think, at least in my lifetime, since I've been paying attention, my favorite press secretary seriously has to be Huckabee. Huckabee was no nonsense, in your face, unapologetic, even if you didn't like her. And honestly, I thought that she was one of the more honest press secretaries and genuine press secretaries, actually believed what they were saying, right? This woman is so out there, so uneducated, it's embarrassing. I mean, when you have to have a notebook, listen, by the time that you hit high school, now this can get groomed later in life. I'm not going to say you can't do it more. And obviously, you go into a secondary school like a college, you can get good at these things, right? Where maybe you have like one line and you know your talking points and you know how you're going to respond. You're actually studied on the issues. We used to at least put those people as the front men for the front men, or the front women for the front women. Doesn't matter to me. We're not a sexist show here. All right. But this person is absolutely awful. And we've been talking about how Joe DiMaggio, he wishes he was Joe DiMaggio. Joe Biden is a dementia-ridden puppet. All right? It's wild. We're living it. So everybody knows what he said at the car show the other day, right? He was with 60 Minutes. And he said, let's just say it's over. I don't want to say it more than anybody else. I don't even want to, there are words I don't even want to say on the program where we're on YouTube. By the way, there is going to be a second half to this that is exclusively going to be on Rockfin and Rumble. I think this is how I'm going to have to do it from now on. So if you're a Rockfin subscriber, we're going to keep it live for 24 hours under premium, but you can still watch even the uncensored part of the broadcast live over on Rumble as well. And by the way, for $1, you can start supporting me over at Red Voice Media. I think it's $10 a month, $100 for the year, but the first month is $1. We're doing at least 4 exclusive videos for them, but I have a real funny feeling we're going to be expanding real quick over there. So I'm going to play the video. Here she is, Karine Jean. It's, again, I just want to let you know.
Karine, the president also in the 60 Minutes interview said that the pandemic is over. There's been quite a bit of pushback to that statement by the president. Where is he today on that?
So just to step back for a second, what we...
And you know what? I love the hand motion. She's going to step back for a second. Like, she's trying hard, right? She wants to get a B in the college course of how to do public relations, all right? But, I mean, really... who's running the show? It's like they didn't want Joe to say that, obviously. Joe doesn't know where he is half the time anyway. We're going to play just part of that. And that's the other thing. After you ask if somebody's focused or mentally fit and they give you the answer they did on 60 Minutes, you say clearly you're not mentally fit. Clearly you're not running the country. So Joe said the wrong thing, and she wants you to step back and realize, and by the way, I don't know how dishonest this is. Joe probably was distracted by the pretty cars. Like, seriously. Like, he's gone, man. He thinks that he was Steve McQueen wrapped in John Wayne through politics, baby. I mean, at this point, the guy's, pooping himself.
Saw during that interview, 60-minute interview, when he made those comments, he was walking through the Detroit car show, the halls of the Detroit car show, and he was looking around. We have to remember the last time that they had held that event was 3 years ago. Even as we're talking about UNGA, the president's going to speak shortly, as I just mentioned, that hasn't been held in person for about 3 years as well.
So there he is, and her explanation why he said it was over. And notice how concerned the media is. There's a lot of been walking it back. is because like it probably is. He probably went off script. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know what he's doing. They don't want to let him alone at all. Again. And if this guy who he was walking with and said that with, we won't even play the clip of him saying it's all over. Look, nobody's wearing masks. Look at the pretty cars. This is his answer about his focus.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly.
So, you want to roll that sentence back or 2 sentences? I mean, this is him doing semi-good. Let's just back it up about 10 seconds. 10 seconds. We're going to let him go a little bit longer.
I have trouble even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not, I haven't observed anything in terms of, there's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything else.
No, you used to be able to speak. Listen, back in the day, when this guy was a senator, okay, they put him out there because he was Gangster Joey B, right? He was kind of funny. He was an everyman, right? That's what they presented him as, from Delaware. And this is a mess. It's a mess. Now, I'm going to later on, we're going to show you a bunch of the PSAs and all that good stuff. But in fact, we're going to be showing you this PSA right here. All right, we can't play this one on the YouTube. I'll probably get a strike for copyright. But these is the Walk With Me PSA. These are the things they're still running. We also have the Elmo PSA we're going to run after this. I'm hesitant to even put this up behind me, but we're going to read about Loony Lucy and Poisonous Pete, and apparently this was up in a doctor's office, everybody. But again, we're going to have to do it on the other side over at Rockfin and Rumble. That's all I'm going to say. That was up there. And the Hatchet Man, by the way, is starting to be humanized by the media. All great things. But maybe the greatest thing of the day before we go into these PSAs and these advertisements for the you-know-what, still for the kiddies and how great it is and it's the best thing since breakfast, because obviously that guy and his press secretary are running the country. I wanted to play this because it's nightmarish and it's real. Oh.
For me,
Oh.
I really like
Let's bring it back. I don't want anybody to miss the beginning of the horror show. Has anybody seen this yet? Are you ready?
For me, I really like corn.
What do you like about corn?
It's corn. A good corn that knobs and has the juice. I got a more beautiful thing. It's corn. I can tell you all about it. I mean, look at this thing. When I tried it, I don't age.
Look at it. Wait, I was going to let it go all the way through, but this is probably the best part, right? Looks like he's in some third world nation, helping people, looking at inspecting the corn. I mean, as crazy as all this is, I warned people about Bill Gates back in 2013. And before we go to the PSAs and all that, first of all, we're going to roll it back to the beginning because this is real. This isn't somebody trolling Bill Gates. He thought this was a good idea to put out. All right, everybody, this is, I know, wild. Again, Rumble, Rockfin, that's where we're going to be uncensored in a minute. But let's do it.
For me, I really like corn.
What do you like about corn?
It's corn. A good corn that knobs and has the juice. I got a more beautiful thing. It's corn. I can tell you all about it. I mean, look at this thing. When I tried it, I don't anything. It's corn. No, Daddy.
Oh, well, we don't want to get to that quite yet. We're going to wait on Elmo. So the farmer there, again, the guy who has all this land, I warned you that he was invested in Monsanto. We're going to play a little bit of Shade the Motion Picture.
Food independence, emergency preparedness,
Here, let's go through and just let everybody know how great Bill Gates is. Now, Bill Gates, Big into weather stuff. By the way, free on all these platforms. Monsanto. During the end, let's see. There's some geoengineering. Oh, you know what? We should play this. This is how much your government loves you, by the way. We're gonna do this right here too. Why not? So this is why you should trust your government, because they love you.
Didn't think it could possibly be true, but after receiving thousands of records and declassified reports from the Army, it's confirmed that during the Cold War, the United States military conducted secret tests on unsuspecting people in the city of St. Louis.
Lisa Martino-Taylor's life work has been to uncover details of the Army's ultra-secret military experiments carried out in St. Louis and other cities during the 1950s and 60s.
This study was secretive for a reason. They didn't have volunteers stepping up and saying, yeah, I'll breathe zinc cadmium sulfide with radioactive particles.
Oh, they didn't? Wow, that's so weird.
These Army archive pictures show how the tests were done in Corpus Christi, Texas in the 1960s. In Texas, planes were used to drop the chemical, but in St. Louis, the Army placed chemical sprayers on buildings and station wagons. City officials were kept in the dark about the tests. The Cold War cover story was that the Army was testing smoke screens to protect cities from a Russian attack.
Smoke screens. There's a lot of that in history. Cadmium sulfide, just yummy.
The truth, according to Martino-Taylor, was much more sinister.
After enough time.
So, yeah, does this lead? I think this leads pretty much into the Gates spot, right? Let's see. We'll go through here. There he is. There's our favorite dude. This is just a little bit about Gates, and don't worry, there's a lot more.
United States, and when I did that, the Weather Modification Company and myself could bet that there would be increased snow in that area during the time of our program, and thus I would make money.
By the way, Bill Gates now, on public record, is a funder into geoengineering programs. He is also a heavy investor in Monsanto.
There is a line of research on what's called geoengineering, which are various techniques that would delay the heating to buy us 20 or 30 years to get our act together.
Bill Gates of Microsoft has been funding cloud whitening experiments using salt particles to see clouds, to brighten them so that it would reflect more direct sunlight back to outer space. The Earth would receive less direct sunlight. But is he consulting with us when those clouds, water rains out and the particulates are salt? Is he responsible then when our rivers and our streams are salted up because of this endeavor to have these type of particulates in our cloud for cloud seeding and cloud whitening purposes?
What may surprise you as well is that Bill Gates actually owns 500,000 shares of biotech corporation Monsanto, the 90+% owner of genetically modified seeds in the United States market.
He benefits on the back end through his investment on Monsanto.
So, you know, everybody that's hip to Farmer Gates now, everybody who thinks they're breaking stories, we put it out in 2013, folks. It's one of my proudest works. By the way, only 56 thumbs up over on YouTube. Can we get them up? Can we get over to Rumble? Because we're going to be uncensored soon. We're going to play a little bit more of this. And by the way, I want to thank everybody who's had me on the past few days. Been doing a lot of other shows. That's why we didn't post yesterday. And by the way, on Friday, we're going to have a new Reality Rants exclusive with Dauntless Dialogue. Awesome conversation there. DauntlessDialogue.com, by the way. If you don't know Adam Riva's work, it is top of the line. So let's continue. Again, I warned you about Gates. And by the way, before I made the movie, I was warning people about Gates.
It's the Hegelian dialectic problem reaction solution. Monsanto comes in and they have patented a seed that addresses abiotic stress. And it's a seed that covers everything from apples to zucchini.
When I moved out here, shortly afterwards, I put in some irrigation with a friend. And I started growing some watermelons, and they grew effortlessly. Just put the seeds right in the soil, the native soil, and they just grew prolifically all over the place. We had probably 25, 30 watermelons for about 3 years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, it just stopped. That was it. No more watermelon. Tomatoes wouldn't grow. I'm pretty sure the soil has some problems. Sorry, can't grow watermelons anymore. Can't grow artichokes no more. Your chicken's feathers are coming out.
When most people think of Bill Gates, they think of Microsoft, they think of Windows, they think of the Xbox.
they think of a man who has pioneered technology into our living rooms. However, there's yet another side to Bill Gates.
Bill Gates never get into politics, never talk about politics, nothing. He was just in the field of computer. But suddenly something happened that the Congress threatened to break down Microsoft in several pieces. Oh, Bill Gates, the richest man in the United States, was not a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, but he saw the writing on the wall, and then he joined the Council on Foreign Relations, and just then the Congress said, well, we are not going to break down Microsoft.
Bill Gates wields great power through his investments. In the realm of entertainment, you have Comcast, the Xbox, and the Windows Phone. In energy and technology, you have ExxonMobil, Ecolab, Devon Energy, and Cabot Oil and Gas. In banking, you have Goldman Sachs, M&T Bank, and Berkshire Hathaway. And in the field of food, you have McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Diamond Foods, Walmart, and even Monsanto.
One of the ways that's been suggested to fund these schemes is through a carbon tax. This carbon tax means that anybody releasing CO2 would have to pay or purchase credits in order to keep releasing CO2, and that the funding mechanism would then go toward the deficit or go toward various things that would apparently or supposedly save us from climate change and global warming.
I'm going to talk today about energy and climate.
Innovating to zero. You hearing a lot about that? You hearing a lot about your carbon footprint lately?
And that might seem a bit surprising because my full-time work at the foundation is mostly about vaccines and seeds. We need to meet a new constraint, and that constraint has to do with CO2. CO2 is warming the planet. I asked the top scientists on this several times, do we really have to get down to near zero? Can't we just, cut it in half or a quarter? And the answer is that until we get near to zero, the temperature will continue to rise. This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero, and that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy.
Now let me just pause it there. Okay? Does anybody see a problem with this equation even now if you're new to the game? Innovating to zero. It's a multiplication problem. A lot of people involved and what they're doing. Just odd. Just total command and control in your face.
We do need the market incentives, CO2 tax, cap and trade, something that gets that price signal out there.
Well, this is a problem because no one is talking about how these funds are to be spent, who gets the money that is collected. The carbon tax levied against people who emit CO2 would be against agriculture, energy companies, different type of people that provide power and energy or food for us. And they won't pay the costs. They're going to transfer the costs to us in the form of higher energy. They're going to transfer the cost to us in the form of a tax on us, all the people of the United States, if this is passed. Nobody is discussing the solutions. Everyone is discussing what the funding mechanism will be for various solutions which may not change the climate at all or damage the environment we live in. And so this scheme that is going on, whether it's cap and trade or whether it's a carbon tax, is merely a charade, and it doesn't offer any solutions to the weather events that we're seeing, nor does it address the ongoing weather modification programs, which NOAA lists in their documents.
It's government control of everything in our lives. Everything from the cereal you eat, everything to the air you breathe, how many times you flush your toilet. It's everything. And that's what they're trying to do, is micromanage how we live, who lives, where we live, what we eat, what we breathe, what we drink.
At one of the speeches that Bill Gates gave during the TED conference, he put a rather alarming equation up on the board. Essentially, this equation called for massive population control, without actually saying it. You see, carbon dioxide was part of the equation, and people were part of the equation.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's
See how everybody uncomfortably laughs when they see right there, it hits them, but they have been subconsciously programmed to think the man on the stage is a good person and he loves them, because billionaires supposedly love us all. All right,
let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
This was a multiplication equation. Now, anybody who's taken first grade math knows that 1 times 0 equals 0. 100 times 0 equals 0. So Bill Gates advocating getting one of these numbers down to 0 essentially calls for our deaths. Well, you can only have 0 carbon emissions if there's no life on the planet. It's an impossibility. Yet the ignorant people in the audience of Gates are cheering, applauding, clapping, and really have no idea what they're taking part in.
Ultimately, what the powers that be are looking for, what the eugenicists are looking for, are two separate species, a worker class and a ruling class. The working class gets fed the GMO. The working class breathes the terrible air. They drink the polluted water.
They used to call it the haves and the have-nots. It's going to become where your genes are literally going to tell them who you are and how much you're worth.
Warren Buffett, who has been described... We're going to stop it there, because we get hardcore. But we're not just going to stop it there. We're going to go over. We've got the Elmo commercial. Okay. We got Walk With Me. That's coming up. And we're going to leave YouTube and go over to Rockfin and Rumble. Let's show those on here. By the way, guys, you want to donate? We got the Buy Me a Coffee down below. Again, RVM, $1. Okay. Subscribe over on Rockfin. We're 65,000 strong over on the Rockfin. And Rumble it up. That's where we're going to be in a moment. Either one. There's the Buy Me a Coffee. Let's end it with the Corn Man over on YouTube. One more time.
For me, I really like corn.
What do you like about corn?
It's corn. A good corn that knobs. It has the juice. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing.
It's corn. I'm a J.
I can tell you all.